Hi, I am Sophia. Welcome to True Payback, where story hits different. Hit subscribe. Let's dive in.
My brother Marcus has always been the golden child. Straight A's through private school. Full scholarship to Princeton. MBA from Wharton at 26. By 30, he'd co-founded Sterling Capital Management, a boutique investment firm that managed portfolios for high-net-worth clients. Family gatherings were Marcus' highlight reels. Dad would talk about my son the finance wizard, with undisguised pride. Mom would show everyone articles about Sterling Capital's successful acquisitions. Even distant relatives knew about Marcus's penthouse in Manhattan and his Tesla. Me. I was the cautionary tale. I'm Alexis Morrison, 29 years old, and according to my family, I've never made a responsible decision in my life. I dropped out of NYU after 2 years to find myself. Their words, dripping with disappointment. I moved to Portland and worked at a coffee shop. Then I tried freelance graphic design. Then I became a yoga instructor. Then I started making artisan candles and selling them at farmers markets. When are you going to get a real job? Dad asked at every holiday dinner. Alexis doesn't think about the future, Marcus would say, shaking his head with brotherly concern. She just drifts from one hobby to the next. I never corrected them. Never mentioned that the coffee shop was a startup I'd invested in early that sold to Starbucks for $42 million. Never explained that my freelance graphic design clients included 3 Fortune 500 companies who paid me consulting fees of $15,000 per project. Never told them that my artisan candle hobby was actually a product testing front for a sustainable goods company I'd founded that now had 12 employees and annual revenue of $8 million. The family narrative was set. Marcus was the brilliant success and Alexis was the irresponsible dreamer who would probably need to be bailed out eventually. I let them believe it. It made life simpler. What they definitely didn't know was that I was an active private equity investor. I'd started with the money from the coffee shop acquisition. My share was $6 million after taxes. I was 23 years old and suddenly had more money than I knew what to do with. Instead of buying a sports car or a penthouse like Marcus probably would have, I hired the best financial advisor I could find and started learning. I read everything about investing, attended workshops, networked quietly with other investors. By 25, I'd turned that $6 million into $28 million through careful investments in early-stage companies. By 27, my portfolio was worth $53 million. Now at 29, I was managing just over $72 million in assets across multiple investment vehicles. One of those investments was Sterling Capital Management. I'd approached Marcus's firm 3 years ago through an intermediary. A blind investment, they called it. My venture capital company, Cascade Ventures LLC, wanted to invest in a promising mid-size investment firm. Sterling Capital fit the profile perfectly. Marcus and his partner Jonathan Hayes accepted $18.3 million in funding in exchange for 15% equity and 2 board observer seats. They had no idea one of those board observers was their investor's daughter and sister. I attended board meetings remotely, camera off, under the name A. Morrison, my legal representative as far as they knew. I watched Marcus present quarterly results, make strategic decisions, negotiate deals. He was good at his job, I had to admit. Arrogant but competent. Jonathan Hayes was the operations brain behind Sterling Capital. While Marcus was the charismatic frontman who brought in clients, Jonathan managed the actual portfolios, handled compliance and kept the business running smoothly. Jonathan was also engaged to my cousin Stephanie, which made family gatherings even more interesting. He'd sit there listening to my family mock my unstable lifestyle, while having no idea I was his company's second-largest investor. I kept my financial life completely separate from my family. I still lived in a modest loft in Portland's Pearl District. I still drove my 10-year-old Subaru. I still made candles and taught yoga classes twice a week because I genuinely enjoyed it. When are you going to settle down? Mom asked at every visit. Get a stable job? Start thinking about your future. I'm thinking about it, I'd say vaguely. Marcus would jump in. Alexis doesn't understand how the real world works. She's almost 30 and still playing artist. I'd smile and change the subject. The crisis started 6 months ago when our uncle died. Uncle Robert was Dad's older brother, wealthy and childless. His will left his estate, valued at approximately $14 million, to be divided between his 2 nieces and nephews. Marcus and me. 7 million each. Simple and straightforward. Except Marcus decided it wasn't fair. Uncle Robert didn't understand Alexis's situation. He told our parents over dinner 2 weeks after the funeral. She's going to waste that money. Blow it on some ridiculous business idea or lifestyle expense. It'll be gone in 5 years. Marcus has a point, Dad said, nodding. Alexis isn't exactly known for financial responsibility. I was sitting right there eating my salmon saying nothing. I think Marcus should manage both portions, Mom suggested. He can give Alexis an allowance, something reasonable that won't enable her impulsive decisions. An allowance? I said mildly. I'm 29. Exactly, Marcus said. You're 29 and you make candles for a living. Be realistic, Lex. You don't have the skills to manage $7 million. And you do. I manage portfolios worth hundreds of millions, he said impatiently. Yes, I absolutely do. This is what I do professionally. I took a sip of wine. Uncle Robert left the money to both of us. His will was clear. The will was written 10 years ago, Marcus countered. Before Uncle Robert's cognitive decline. A good lawyer could argue he wasn't in his right mind. Are you seriously suggesting we contest Uncle Robert's will? I asked. I'm suggesting we do what's best for the family. What's best for you even if you can't see it. The conversation ended there, but I knew it wasn't over. 2 months later I received legal papers. Marcus was filing a petition for conservatorship over my finances, claiming I was incapable of managing my own financial affairs, and requesting that the court grant him control of my inheritance and any other assets I might have. The petition cited my unstable employment history, my pattern of impulsive business decisions, and my inability to maintain financial stability. As evidence he provided, my dropped-out college transcript, tax returns showing inconsistent income, because I structured most of my income through LLCs, statements from family members about my concerning lifestyle choices, a psychological evaluation from a therapist Marcus had hired who'd never actually met me. It was comprehensive, calculated, and designed to paint me as an incompetent adult who needed a guardian. I called my attorney, Patricia Chen, one of the best estate lawyers in Oregon. Can he do this? I asked. He can file it, Patricia said carefully. Whether he'll win is another matter. But Alexis, you need to understand, if you fight this and lose, you could actually end up under conservatorship. A judge could grant Marcus control. And if I don't fight it, then he wins by default. I thought about Uncle Robert, who'd always been kind to me, who'd never judged my choices, who'd left me $7 million because he believed I deserved it. We fight, I said. Patricia paused. There's something you should know. Marcus's attorney is very good. And the judge assigned to this case, Judge Raymond Kolsky, has a history of ruling conservatively in these matters. He tends to favor financial professionals over unconventional lifestyles. Are you saying I'm going to lose? I'm saying you need to be prepared to show evidence of financial competence. Do you have assets beyond the inheritance? Yes. Significant assets? Very significant. Then we'll need to disclose them. All of them. I hesitated. Once I revealed my actual financial situation, there'd be no going back. My family would know. Marcus would know. The carefully maintained fiction of irresponsible Alexis would shatter. Do it, I said. Pull together everything. Patricia spent 3 weeks gathering documentation. Bank statements, investment portfolios, LLC operating agreements, tax returns showing my actual income. Property deeds. I owned 4 commercial properties in Portland. Stock certificates. Board positions. Everything. When she finished, she called me into her office and spread it all out on the conference table. Alexis, she said quietly. You're worth over $72 million. I know. Your family has no idea, do they? None. This is going to be quite a revelation in court. I looked at the documents, years of careful investing and strategic planning laid bare. Good, I said. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in downtown Portland. I arrived early wearing a simple blue dress and minimal jewelry, professional but not flashy. Marcus was already there with his attorney, Howard Pierce from Pierce & Associates. Howard was exactly the type of lawyer you'd expect Marcus to hire. Expensive suit, perfect hair, condescending smile. Jonathan Hayes sat in the gallery behind Marcus, there for moral support. He gave me a polite nod. I nodded back. My parents sat on Marcus's side of the courtroom. Of course they did. Patricia sat beside me at the defendant's table, her own files meticulously organized. Judge Kowalski called the court to order. He was in his late 60s, stern-faced, exactly as Patricia had described. Mr. Pierce, you may proceed, the judge said. Howard stood with practiced confidence. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of a family trying to protect a vulnerable member. The petitioner, Marcus Morrison, is a successful investment manager with a track record of fiscal responsibility. The respondent, Alexis Morrison, is a 29-year-old woman with no stable career, no retirement savings, and a history of poor financial decisions. He presented his case methodically. My college dropout status. My job hopping through various careers. Tax returns that showed inconsistent income, because he only had my personal returns, not my business entity returns. The respondent is about to inherit $7 million, Howard continued. Without proper oversight, this money will disappear within years, if not months. Mr. Morrison isn't trying to take his sister's money. He's trying to protect it. Protect her. It was a good opening. Concerned brother worried about impulsive sister. Very sympathetic. Then Marcus took the stand. Mr. Morrison, Howard began. Can you describe your professional background? Marcus sat up straight, confident. I have an MBA from Wharton. I co-founded Sterling Capital Management 9 years ago. We manage approximately $300 million in client assets. And your sister's background? Alexis dropped out of college. She's worked at coffee shops, done some freelance design work, taught yoga. She currently makes candles. He said it with just the right mix of concern and disappointment. Are you worried about her inheriting $7 million? Extremely worried, Marcus said. My sister is a good person, but she's never understood money. She lives day to day, makes impulsive decisions. I've watched her jump from one idea to the next for years. $7 million in her hands would be gone before she realized what happened. What are you asking this court to do? I'm asking to be appointed conservator of her financial affairs. I would manage the inheritance, provide her with a reasonable monthly allowance, and help her build actual financial stability for the first time in her life. Howard nodded sympathetically. And this is coming from a place of love? Concern for your sister? Absolutely. I want what's best for Alexis, even if she can't see it right now. It was a perfect performance. Concerned older brother trying to save irresponsible younger sister from herself. When Patricia stood for cross-examination, her voice was calm and precise. Mr. Morrison, when was the last time you discussed finances with your sister? Marcus frowned. We don't really discuss finances. Alexis isn't interested in that kind of conversation. Have you ever asked her about her business ventures? Her hobbies, you mean? I mean her businesses. Have you ever asked about her candle company's revenue? Her consulting income? Her investment portfolio? Marcus looked confused. Alexis doesn't have an investment portfolio. Are you certain about that? Yes. She lives in a rental loft and drives a car that's 10 years old. She's barely making ends meet. Patricia pulled out a document. Mr. Morrison, do you recognize the name Cascade Ventures LLC? Something flickered across Marcus's face. That's one of our investors at Sterling Capital. And who do you believe owns Cascade Ventures? I don't know. It's a blind investment. We deal with their legal representative, Morrison. Patricia smiled slightly. Morrison. What do you think the stands for? Marcus stared at her. That's not possible. Your Honor, Patricia said, turning to the judge. I'd like to enter into evidence the operating agreement for Cascade Ventures LLC, showing that the primary owner and managing member is Alexis Morrison, the respondent in this case. She placed the document in front of the judge. Marcus's face went white. That's impossible. Cascade invested over $18 million in my company. 18.3 million to be exact, Patricia corrected. Your sister has been one of your largest investors for 3 years, Mr. Morrison. She holds 15% equity in Sterling Capital Management. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Jonathan Hayes stood up in the back, his phone already in his hand. Judge Kowalski banged his gavel. Order. Marcus was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Lex, you... I said nothing. Just looked at him calmly. Howard Pierce recovered quickly. Your Honor, even if this is true, it doesn't necessarily indicate financial competence. The respondent could have gotten lucky with a single investment. It's not a single investment, Patricia interrupted. She placed another stack of documents on the table. Your Honor, I'd like to submit the respondent's complete financial disclosure. He walked the judge through it all. Every investment, every property, every business entity. My consulting income. My candle company's revenue. The coffee shop acquisition from 6 years ago. As you can see, Your Honor, Ms. Alexis Morrison has a current net worth of approximately $72 million, built over the course of 9 years through careful investing and strategic business decisions. The judge looked at the documents, then at me, then at Marcus. 72 million, he repeated. Yes, Your Honor. Marcus had gone from white to gray. That's not... How is that possible? Because I've been investing since I was 23, I said quietly. I've just never advertised it. Judge Kowalski turned to Marcus. Mr. Morrison, you're petitioning for conservatorship over someone worth $72 million? I didn't know. You didn't ask, the judge corrected. Did you ever request to see your sister's financial records before filing this petition? She doesn't. I assumed. You assumed, Judge Kowalski said flatly. Mr. Pierce, does your client have any evidence beyond assumptions and family opinions? Howard was flipping through papers desperately. Your Honor, the respondent's lifestyle suggests. Her lifestyle suggests she lives below her means, the judge interrupted. Which is generally considered a sign of financial responsibility, not irresponsibility. It was falling apart. I could see it in Howard's face, in Marcus's slumped shoulders. Then Marcus made a mistake. She's always been financially irresponsible, he testified, his voice rising. This doesn't change that. She got lucky, that's all. I deserve control of her assets because she'll eventually lose it all. I'm her brother. I know her better than some portfolio statement does. His business partner nodded from the back, supporting Marcus's claim. I stayed silent. Then I pulled out my phone and sent a text to my private equity team. Terminate all funding to Sterling Capital Management. Effective immediately. Begin withdrawal process. Jonathan Hayes's phone started ringing. He looked at the screen, frowned, and stepped out of the courtroom. Patricia continued her cross-examination. Mr. Morrison, you claim to know your sister well. What's the name of her candle company? It doesn't have a name. It's just candles. It's called Ember and Company. It has 12 employees and did $8 million in revenue last year. Did you know that? Marcus shook his head. Did you know she owns 4 commercial properties in Portland worth a combined $16 million? No. Did you know she sits on 3 corporate boards? No. Did you know she's been attending Sterling Capital's board meetings for 3 years as an observer? Marcus's eyes widened. The board observer. Morrison, that was you. I nodded once. You've been watching me? Spying on my company. Protecting my investment, I corrected. That's what responsible investors do. Jonathan Hayes came back into the courtroom. His face had gone pale. He walked straight to Marcus and whispered something in his ear. Marcus stood up suddenly. We need a recess. Your Honor, I need to speak with my attorney. Sit down, Mr. Morrison, Judge Kowalski said sternly. But our investor just withdrew $18 million. I said sit down. Marcus sat, but he was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Shock, anger, and something that might have been fear. Patricia addressed the court. Your Honor, I think it's clear that this petition is baseless. Ms. Morrison is not only financially competent, she's exceptionally successful. Her brother's claims of irresponsibility are based entirely on assumptions and superficial observations. Judge Kowalski looked at Marcus with obvious distaste. Mr. Morrison, did you file this petition to gain control of your sister's inheritance? No. I was trying to protect her. From what? From being wealthier and more successful than you are. The courtroom went silent. Your Honor, Howard tried to interject, but the judge held up a hand. I've seen enough. This conservatorship petition is denied. Furthermore, I'm awarding court costs and attorney fees to the respondent. Mr. Morrison, you will pay for your sister's legal defense. He banged his gavel. Case dismissed. The hallway outside the courtroom was chaos. Jonathan was on his phone, his voice tight with panic. Yes, they just withdrew everything. 18.3 million. No, I don't know why. He saw me and walked over. Alexis? Was that you? It was my company, yes. Why? We've been performing well, our returns have been solid. Your business partner just tried to have me declared incompetent, I said calmly. That's not someone I want managing my money. But I didn't. You were sitting in that courtroom nodding along when Marcus called me irresponsible. You're engaged to my cousin. You've been to family dinners where everyone mocked my career choices, and you never once said anything. You never once asked if maybe they were wrong about me. Jonathan's face flushed. I didn't know. Nobody knew because nobody asked. That's the problem. Marcus emerged from the courtroom, Howard trailing behind him looking defeated. Lex, Marcus said. We need to talk. No, we don't. You just pulled 18 million from my company. Do you have any idea what that's going to do to us? You'll survive, I said. You still have other investors. You'll have to restructure, maybe downsize, but you'll survive. Think of it as a learning experience in financial resilience. This is insane. You've been lying to the entire family for years. I haven't lied once, I interrupted. I just didn't volunteer information that nobody asked for. There's a difference. Mom and Dad are going to. Mom and Dad just watched you try to take control of my money and assets based on nothing but your assumptions. I'm sure they have thoughts about that too. Our parents were standing near the elevator looking shell-shocked. Dad's face was red. Mom looked like she might cry. Marcus lowered his voice. Can we please just talk about this? Family to family. You took me to court, Marcus. You filed legal papers calling me incompetent. You tried to take control of my entire financial life. We're not family to family anymore. We're adversaries who happen to be related. I was trying to help you. No, I said quietly. You were trying to control me. There's a difference. I walked to the elevator. Patricia followed. Behind me, I heard Jonathan say to Marcus, "How are we going to replace 18 million in funding?" "I don't know," Marcus replied, his voice hollow. The elevator doors closed. My parents demanded a family meeting 3 days later. I almost didn't go, but curiosity won out. We met at their house in Lake Oswego. The same dining room where Marcus had proposed taking control of my inheritance. The same table where I'd been dismissed and underestimated for years. Everyone was there. Marcus looking exhausted. Jonathan looking uncomfortable. My cousin Stephanie, Jonathan's fiancée, looking confused. Mom and Dad at the heads of the table. I sat down and waited. Dad spoke first. "Alexis, we owe you an apology." "Do you?" "We had no idea about your situation, your success. If we'd known, you would have treated me differently," I finished. "I know. That's exactly why I didn't tell you." Mom leaned forward. "Why didn't you tell us, sweetheart? We're your family. We could have celebrated your success, been proud of you. Like you were proud of Marcus?" I asked. "Showing off his accomplishments at every gathering? Talking about his penthouse and his Tesla? Would you have done that for me?" Silence. "I didn't tell you because I didn't need your validation," I continued. "And because I knew the moment you found out, everything would change. You'd start asking for money, for investments, for favors. Marcus would feel threatened. You'd treat me differently, and I liked being underestimated. It gave me freedom." "But we're your family," Mom said again, as if that explained everything. "Family works both ways," I said. "You never asked about my life. You assumed, judged, and dismissed. Marcus just took it a step further by trying to legally control me." Marcus finally spoke. "I really was trying to help." "No, you weren't. You were trying to stay superior. You needed me to be the irresponsible little sister so you could be the successful big brother. When Uncle Robert left me 7 million, it threatened that narrative. So you decided to take control before I could prove you wrong. That's not. It absolutely is. And you know what the worst part is? You're actually good at what you do. Sterling Capital is a solid firm. You didn't need to tear me down to build yourself up. But you did it anyway. Dad cleared his throat. What happens now? Now Marcus pays my legal fees as ordered by the judge. Now I maintain my other investments, but Sterling Capital is no longer one of them. Now you all know the truth about who I am and what I've built. Can we start over? Mom asked. Can we try to have a real relationship? I thought about it. About years of condescension and dismissal. About Marcus's petition and the family's easy acceptance of his claims. Maybe, I said. But it has to be real. You have to actually see me, not the version of me you created. And Marcus has to accept that I don't need his protection or his management or his approval. Marcus was staring at the table. Sterling Capital is going to take a significant hit without your funding. I know. We might have to lay people off. Scale back operations. I know that too. Is there any chance? No, I said firmly. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You don't get my money after that. Ever. Jonathan shifted uncomfortably. For what it's worth, Alexis, I had no idea Marcus was going to file that petition. I thought he was just going to talk to you. But you supported him in court, I pointed out. You sat there nodding when he called me irresponsible. I didn't know the full story. You didn't ask for it either. None of you did. You all just assumed Marcus was right because he's the finance guy and I'm the candle maker. Stephanie spoke for the first time. I always thought your candles were nice. Despite everything, I smiled. Thanks, Steph. Are they really an $8 million business? Last year, yes. We're projecting $12 million this year. Well, I had no idea you could make that much from candles. You can make money from anything if you understand your market and execute well. Grandma always said that. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Your grandmother would be so proud of you. She knew, I said quietly. She was the only one who asked. The only one who listened. She knew everything. Did she know about the conservatorship petition? She died 3 years ago, Mom. But if she were alive, yes, she would have known. And she would have told Marcus he was being an idiot. Marcus flinched. Dad looked at me seriously. What do you need from us, Alexis? What would make this right? I thought about it. About what I actually wanted from my family. Respect, I said finally. Not because of how much money I have, but because I'm a person who deserves to be taken seriously. Ask me about my life. Listen when I answer. Don't assume you know better just because my path looks different from Marcus's. We can do that, Dad said. Can you? I looked at Marcus. Can you handle having a little sister who's more successful than you are? He was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, he said honestly. It's a lot to process. At least you're being honest. I really did think I was helping, he said again. I thought you were going to waste Uncle Robert's money. And even if I'd spent every penny on something you thought was stupid, it would have been my money, Marcus. My choice. My life. He nodded slowly. You're right. I see that now. Do you? Or do you just see that I'm rich and you can't control me? Both, he admitted. I don't like being wrong about you. I don't like finding out my little sister has been running circles around me financially for years. But I'm trying to see that those are my problems, not yours. It was the most honest thing he'd said all night. Hey, I said. That's a start. Marcus and Jonathan restructured Sterling Capital. They brought in new investors, legitimate ones who weren't secretly related to them. The firm survived, smaller but more stable. Marcus and I don't talk often, but when we do, it's civil. He's working on seeing me as an equal rather than his irresponsible little sister. Some days he's better at it than others. Jonathan and Stephanie got married. I went to the wedding. Jonathan pulled me aside during the reception. I've been following Ember & Co., he said. The expansion into home goods was smart. Very smart. Thanks. I don't suppose you're looking for investors? I smiled. We're fully funded, but I'll keep you in mind for future ventures. Ventures that don't involve my business partner trying to declare you incompetent? That would be the baseline requirement, yes. He laughed. We were okay. My parents made an effort. Real effort. Mom started asking about my businesses, actually listening when I explained my investment strategies. Dad stopped comparing me to Marcus at every opportunity. We had Sunday dinners now, just the four of us sometimes. They were still awkward, still rebuilding, but they were real. I kept my life mostly private, but I stopped hiding quite so much. Started being honest about my work when people asked. Let my success be visible when it made sense. But I still lived in my loft. Still drove my Subaru. Still made candles twice a week because I enjoyed the meditative quality of the work. And I still invested quietly, watching my portfolio grow, building something that didn't need anyone's approval or validation. Uncle Robert's $7 million sat in a trust, growing steadily. I'd donate most of it eventually, probably to business education programs for women. Robert would have liked that. One evening my phone rang. Marcus. Hey, he said. I have a client who's looking to invest in sustainable consumer goods companies. I immediately thought of Ember & Company. Would you be open to a meeting? You're referring business to me? You're good at what you do, he said simply. Better than I gave you credit for. And she's a good client. You'd work well together. Hey, I said. Send me her information. Lex. Yeah. I'm sorry. For all of it. The petition, the assumptions, the years of dismissing you. I'm really sorry. I know. Are we going to be okay? Eventually. I thought about it. About the brother who'd tried to control me and the brother who was now referring clients to me. Yeah, I said. Eventually. After we hung up, I sat in my loft looking out at Portland's lights. Somewhere out there, people were making assumptions about me based on my beat-up car and my modest apartment. Underestimating me because I made candles and taught yoga. I smiled. Let them, I thought. Still a gift.